Zara Mitchell never imagined that stopping to help an elderly Korean woman being harassed outside a luxury hotel would lead to a whispered plea from a stranger in pearls and panic. She never imagined agreeing to walk into Seoul's most exclusive corporate gala pretending to be the girlfriend of a man she'd never met. And she definitely never imagined the moment their eyes would lock across that glittering ballroom, when prosecutor Seo Junwoo's carefully controlled expression would crack just slightly, when something dark and possessive would flare in those obsidian eyes, when he would cross the room with predatory grace and pull her against him like she already belonged to him, whispering against her ear in that voice that made her knees weak, "Play along or we both die tonight," and she would feel her entire world tilt sideways because this dangerous, beautiful man had just claimed her in front of Seoul's elite, and nothing would ever be the same. Welcome to Afrokorean Central, besties. Please like, share, and subscribe. The January cold bit through Zara's coat as she hurried down the sidewalk outside the Shilla hotel, camera bag heavy on her shoulder. She'd been photographing traditional architecture in Insadong all afternoon for her cultural research fellowship, and now she just wanted to get back to her tiny apartment in Itaewon and edit the day's work. But the sound of raised voices made her pause, made her look toward the hotel's gleaming entrance. An elderly Korean woman in an elegant hanbok stood frozen while two men in expensive suits crowded her against the marble facade, their voices sharp and threatening. The woman clutched her purse with trembling hands, her face pale with fear. Hotel staff stood nearby, but nobody intervened, everyone carefully looking away from whatever confrontation was unfolding. Zara's grandmother had taught her never to walk past someone in trouble. She crossed the sidewalk quickly, her natural instinct to help overriding common sense. "Excuse me," she said loudly in English, stepping between the woman and the men. "Is there a problem here?" The men turned to stare at her, clearly not expecting interference. One of them, tall with a scar across his jaw, smiled coldly. "This doesn't concern you, foreigner. Walk away." "No," Zara said, her heart hammering but her voice steady. She pulled out her phone. "Should I call the police? Or hotel security?" The scarred man's expression darkened dangerously. He stepped toward Zara with clear intent to intimidate. "You're making a very stupid mistake." Before the situation could escalate, a sleek black car pulled up to the curb with perfect timing. The back door opened, and a woman stepped out, 50s, impeccably dressed in a cream suit, diamonds glinting at her throat. The two men immediately stepped back, their aggressive postures shifting to something more cautious. "Mrs. Han," the scarred man said with forced politeness, "this doesn't concern you either." "Everything that happens at my son's event concerns me," the woman said coolly in Korean, then switched to English. "Thank you for helping my mother-in-law." These men were just leaving. It wasn't a suggestion. The men exchanged glances, then walked away without another word, disappearing into the evening crowd. The elderly woman in the hanbok immediately began speaking rapid Korean to Mrs. Han, gesturing toward Zara with what sounded like gratitude. Mrs. Han listened, then turned to Zara with an assessing look. "My mother-in-law says you were very brave. Those men work for someone dangerous. You could have been hurt." "I couldn't just walk away," Zara said simply. Mrs. Han studied her for a long moment, something calculating behind her polite smile. "What's your name?" "Zara Mitchell. I'm a cultural research fellow at Seoul National University." "American?"
"Yes."
Mrs. Han glanced at the hotel entrance where well-dressed guests were arriving for what was clearly a major event. "You're not attending the gala?" "I didn't even know there was one," Zara said honestly. "I was just passing by." Mrs. Han's expression shifted, her eyes sharpening with sudden interest. "You speak Korean?" "A little," Zara admitted. "I've been studying, but I'm not fluent." Mrs. Han looked at her elderly mother-in-law, then back at Zara, clearly making some kind of decision. "I need to ask you something unusual. Something that will sound insane. But I wouldn't ask if it wasn't desperately important." Zara's instincts screamed warning, but something about the fear carefully hidden behind Mrs. Han's composed expression made her hesitate. "What kind of something?" "Inside this hotel is a corporate gala," Mrs. Han said quietly, urgently. My son is attending. He's a prosecutor, very high profile, very powerful. And there's a woman inside who's been threatening him, trying to force him into a relationship by claiming they're already involved. She's connected to organized crime, and if she convinces certain people tonight that my son is compromised, that he's romantically involved with her, his career ends. Possibly his life. Zara's stomach tightened with growing unease. What does that have to do with me? Mrs. Han stepped closer, her voice dropping. I need someone to walk in there, as his girlfriend. Someone completely unexpected, someone with no connections to Korean society or criminal organizations. Someone who could believably be a secret relationship he kept private. Her eyes traveled over Zara's face, her natural hair, her obvious foreignness. Someone exactly like you. This is crazy, Zara said immediately. I can't just pretend to be someone's girlfriend at a corporate gala.
You don't even know me.
Mrs. Han's composure cracked slightly. Those men who were threatening my mother-in-law work for the same organization backing this woman. They know my family is vulnerable right now. If this woman succeeds tonight, if she manipulates the situation to make it look like my son is involved with criminals, everything my family has built will be destroyed. Please. I'm begging you. Zara looked at the elderly woman in the hanbok, who was watching her with desperate hope despite the language barrier. She thought about walking away, about the sanity of refusing this insane request. But she also thought about the fear in both women's eyes, the genuine terror that this wasn't just social drama but something far more dangerous. How long would I have to pretend? Zara asked, already knowing she was making a terrible decision. Just tonight, Mrs. Han said quickly. Just long enough to establish that my son is already in a committed relationship with someone else. After tonight you can disappear, never see any of us again. I'll compensate you generously for your time. I don't want money, Zara said. But if I do this, you need to promise me something. Anything. After tonight, you make sure those men never bother your mother-in-law again. You protect her. Mrs. Han's expression softened, with something like respect. You have my word. They have my word as well, said a deep voice from behind them, and Zara turned to see a man stepping out of the hotel entrance. He was tall, intimidatingly so, with sharp features and eyes so dark they looked black in the evening light. He wore a charcoal suit that fit him perfectly, moved with controlled precision that suggested either military training or something more dangerous. The air around him seemed to shift, became heavier, more charged with authority.
This is my son, Mrs. Han said.
Prosecutor Seo Junwoo. Seo Junwoo looked at Zara with unsettling intensity, his gaze traveling over her face like he was memorizing every feature, cataloging every detail. You're the American who stopped to help, he said in perfect English, his voice deep and controlled. My mother has explained the situation? She's asked me to pretend to be your girlfriend, Zara said, meeting his gaze despite her hammering heart. Which is insane. Yes, Seo Junwoo agreed. But unfortunately necessary. He stepped closer and Zara caught his scent, something expensive and masculine that made her pulse quicken involuntarily. Inside that gala is a woman named Yoon Mi-ra. She's the daughter of a man I've been investigating for organized crime connections. 3 weeks ago, she approached me claiming we'd had a relationship months ago, that I'd promised her marriage. It's completely fabricated, but she has manufactured evidence, edited photos, falsified communications. Why not just tell the truth? Zara asked. Expose her lies publicly. Because exposing her means exposing her father's criminal activities before I have enough evidence to prosecute, Seo Junwoo said. He'll destroy evidence, eliminate witnesses. 2 years of investigation will be wasted. But if I can prove I was already in a relationship with someone else during the time frame she claims, her entire story falls apart. Her credibility is destroyed without revealing the investigation. Zara processed this, her analytical mind working through the logic. So you need me to be the proof that she's lying. For one night, yes, Seo Junwoo said. After tonight, she'll have no leverage. The investigation can continue. And you never have to see me again. Something about the way he said that last part, with a slight tightness in his jaw, made Zara's stomach flutter unexpectedly. She looked at the three of them, This unlikely group asking her to do something completely insane, and made her decision.
Okay, she said.
One night. But we need to get our story straight first. Relief flooded Mrs. Han's face. Thank you. Thank you so much. We have about 20 minutes before the gala officially starts, CEO Junwoo said, already moving into organizational mode. That's enough time to establish basic details. He gestured toward the hotel entrance. There's a private lounge where we can talk. Zara followed them inside, very aware that she was still wearing jeans and a casual sweater while the hotel lobby glittered with evening gowns and tuxedos. Mrs. Han seemed to read her mind. We'll get you something appropriate to wear. I have connections here. Within 15 minutes, Zara found herself in a hotel suite being fitted into a stunning deep blue gown that hugged her curves perfectly. A stylist worked on her natural curls, shaping them into an elegant updo while another woman applied makeup that enhanced rather than covered her features. When she looked in the mirror, she barely recognized herself. The dress transformed her from a graduate student into someone who could plausibly belong at an elite Seoul gala. Seo Junwoo was waiting in the suite's living room when she emerged, and the way his eyes widened slightly, the way his jaw tightened as his gaze traveled over her, made heat rush through Zara's body. You look, he stopped, seemed to choose his words carefully. You look perfect. They sat together on the sofa while his mother gave them privacy to coordinate their story. We need a believable timeline, Seo Junwoo said, his voice slightly rougher than before. How we met, how long we've been together, why we kept it private. Zara forced herself to think analytically despite her awareness of how close he was sitting, how his presence seemed to fill the space around them. When does Yoon Mi-ra claim you were involved with her? Between September and November of last year, he said. So we need to have met before that. How about August? Zara suggested. A cultural event. Something public, but not too high profile. Good, Seo Junwoo nodded. The International Film Festival in Busan. I attended for work, you were there photographing for your research. We met at a networking reception, started talking about cultural preservation, exchanged contact information. It was close enough to truth that Zara could make it believable. And we kept it private because of your position, she continued. A high-profile prosecutor dating a foreign researcher would attract media attention you didn't want while working sensitive cases. Exactly, he said, something like approval in his eyes. You're quick. We should also establish some personal details, Zara said. Things couples would know about each other. What's your favorite food? Seo Junwoo seemed surprised by the question, then answered. Naengmyeon. Cold buckwheat noodles. My mother makes it best, but I never tell her that because she'll make it constantly. Zara smiled despite herself. That's sweet. What about you? He asked. What would I know about you? I'm obsessed with traditional textiles, Zara said. I can spend hours photographing hanbok designs and pojagi patchwork. And I'm terrible at using chopsticks, which is embarrassing after 6 months in Korea. The corner of his mouth lifted slightly, almost a smile. I would have taught you, he said. We would have had many dinners where I patiently showed you the correct grip. The way he said it with that deep voice made it sound intimate rather than instructional. They spent the next 10 minutes building their fictional relationship with surprising ease, trading details, and constructing a history that felt surprisingly real. Zara learned that Seo Junwoo had studied law at Seoul National University, that his father had been a prosecutor who died investigating a corruption case, that he lived alone in a minimalist apartment in Gangnam and worked brutal hours because he believed in justice with an intensity that bordered on obsession. He learned that Zara had grown up in Chicago, that she'd lost her parents in a car accident during college, that she'd thrown herself into academic research as a way to process grief, that she'd chosen Korea because her grandmother had been stationed here during her military service and always spoke about it with love. I need to tell you something, Seo Junwoo said as they prepared to go downstairs. About Yoon Mi-ra. She's dangerous, not just manipulative. Her family's organization has killed people who threaten them. If she realizes you're a fabrication, if she suspects this isn't real, she'll retaliate. Are you saying I'm in danger? Zara asked, her mouth suddenly dry. I'm saying I won't let anything happen to you, he said with absolute conviction. After tonight, you'll have protection until this investigation concludes, and her family is neutralized.
You have my word on that.
Why would you protect someone you just met? Because you're helping me despite having no obligation, Seo Junwoo said. And because the moment I involve you in this situation, your safety becomes my responsibility. That's non-negotiable. The intensity in his voice, the absolute certainty, made Zara believe him.
Okay, she said. Let's do this.
They took the elevator down to the ballroom level, Seo Junwoo's hand settling on the small of her back with possessive familiarity. The gesture sent electricity through Zara's nervous system. His touch was warm through the thin fabric of her gown, proprietary in a way that suggested long-established intimacy. She tried to ignore how right it felt. The gala was already underway when they entered through a side entrance. The ballroom was stunning, all crystal chandeliers and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Seoul's glittering skyline. Corporate executives mixed with government officials, everyone dressed in their finest. The air thick with power and money and carefully maintained reputations. Seo Junwoo's hand remained on her back, guiding her through the crowd with confident ease. Several people approached immediately, greeting him with varying degrees of deference and curiosity. Their eyes kept sliding to Zara with barely concealed surprise and speculation. Prosecutor Seo, a middle-aged man in an expensive suit, said, "We didn't expect to see you with a guest tonight." "This is Zara Mitchell," Seo Junwoo said smoothly. "My girlfriend." The word hung in the air like a detonation. Zara felt dozens of eyes turn toward them with sudden sharp interest. "Your girlfriend," the man repeated, clearly shocked. "We had no idea you were seeing anyone. We prefer to keep our personal life private," Seo Junwoo said, his hand tightening slightly on Zara's back. "Zara is a cultural researcher at Seoul National University. We met last year at the Busan Film Festival." The man's eyes narrowed slightly, calculating. "How interesting. And you're American, Miss Mitchell?" "Yes," Zara said, forcing confidence into her voice. "Originally from Chicago. I've been in Seoul for 6 months, working on a fellowship studying traditional Korean textile arts." She had no idea if that sounded believable, but the man seemed to accept it, nodding politely before excusing himself. The moment he walked away, Seo Junwoo leaned close to Zara's ear. "That was perfect. You're a natural at this." His breath against her skin made her shiver involuntarily. They moved deeper into the ballroom, Seo Junwoo introducing her to more people, each time calling her his girlfriend with increasing ease. Zara found herself slipping into the role, laughing at appropriate moments, touching his arm with casual affection, playing the part of a woman completely comfortable at her prosecutor boyfriend's side. Then she saw her. A woman in a white gown that probably cost more than Zara's entire fellowship stipend stood near the center of the ballroom, surrounded by admirers. She was beautiful in that particular Seoul way, perfect skin, delicate features, designer everything. But there was something cold in her eyes, something calculating in the way she surveyed the room, like she owned it. "That's her," Seo Junwoo said quietly.
Yoon Mi-ra.
As if sensing their attention, Yoon Mi-ra turned, and her eyes locked onto them. Her expression shifted from pleasant to shocked to furious in the span of seconds. She crossed the ballroom with purposeful strides, her entourage following. "Junwoo," she said when she reached them, her voice carrying enough to attract nearby attention. "I've been trying to reach you all week. Ignoring my calls was childish." "I'm sorry," Seo Junwoo said coolly. "I've been busy." Mi-ra's eyes slid to Zara with undisguised hostility. "And who is this?" "This is Zara Mitchell," Seo Junwoo said. "My girlfriend." For a moment Mi-ra just stared, her composed mask slipping to reveal pure rage underneath. Then she laughed, sharp and brittle. "Your girlfriend? That's absurd. We both know you, and I have been involved for months." "We have not," Seo Junwoo said firmly. "We have never been involved in any capacity beyond professional encounters. You've manufactured a fiction that I've repeatedly denied. Zara and I have been together since August." Mi-ra's gaze turned poisonous as it fixed on Zara. "You expect anyone to believe he'd be with someone like you?" Someone so obviously beneath his social standing? Actually, Zara said before she could stop herself, he appreciates that I judge him on his character rather than his bank account. Mireille's expression went from angry to absolutely venomous. You have no idea what you've walked into, foreigner. No idea who you're dealing with. I know exactly who I'm dealing with, Zara said, channeling every ounce of confidence she possessed. I'm dealing with someone who can't accept rejection gracefully. The ballroom had gone quiet around them, everyone watching the confrontation with avid interest. Mireille stepped closer to Zara, her voice dropping to something threatening. My family owns half the city. We destroy people who cross us. I'm not afraid of you, Zara said, her heart hammering but her voice steady. Seo Junwoo stepped smoothly between them, his body a wall of protection. This conversation is over, he said coldly. Stay away from Zara. Stay away from me. If you continue this harassment, I'll file a formal complaint. Mireille's laugh was ugly. A formal complaint? Do you really think that will protect you? Protect either of you? She looked past him to Zara. Watch your back, American. Seoul is dangerous for people who don't belong here. She swept away with her entourage, leaving hostile silence in her wake. Seo Junwoo immediately pulled out his phone, typing rapidly. What are you doing? Zara asked. Making sure you have protection starting now, he said grimly. Mireille just made a public threat. That changes everything. Within minutes, two men in dark suits materialized from the crowd, taking up positions near them with professional vigilance. Seo Junwoo introduced them briefly as security specialists before guiding Zara toward a quieter corner of the ballroom. Are you okay? He asked, his hand coming up to cup her face with unexpected gentleness. That was more intense than I expected. I'm fine, Zara said, though she was shaking slightly. She's terrifying. She's dangerous, Seo Junwoo corrected. And I'm sorry I put you in her crosshairs. You stood up to her perfectly. Most people crumble under that kind of intimidation. I'm too stubborn to crumble, Zara said, trying for humor. His thumb stroked her cheekbone, his eyes searching hers. I'm beginning to understand that about you. The moment stretched between them, charged with something that felt far too real for their fake relationship. Then music started playing, couples moving onto the dance floor, and Seo Junwoo's hand slid to her waist. We should dance. Maintain the appearance. Zara let him lead her onto the floor, very aware of everywhere they touched. His hand on her waist, her palm in his, the heat of his body mere inches away. You dance well, she said as they moved together with surprising synchronization. My mother insisted on lessons when I was young, he admitted. She believed a prosecutor should be comfortable in any social situation. Smart woman. Dangerous woman, Seo Junwoo corrected with dry humor. She orchestrated this entire situation, convinced you to help within minutes of meeting you. She's terrifying in her own way. Is that where you get it from? Zara asked. The intensity? Probably, he said. Though my father contributed his share. He was brilliant and relentless. It got him killed. I'm sorry, Zara said softly. Seo Junwoo was quiet for a moment, then spoke. He was investigating a pharmaceutical company for falsifying drug trial data. He got too close to exposing the corruption. They arranged a car accident that the police ruled coincidental. I became a prosecutor to finish what he started, to make sure people like that face consequences. Did you finish it? 3 years ago, I finally gathered enough evidence to prosecute, Seo Junwoo said. The CEO and 4 executives are currently serving 15-year sentences. My father's death wasn't meaningless. The fierce satisfaction in his voice made Zara understand him better, understand the driven intensity that everyone seemed to fear. He wasn't just a prosecutor. He was a man on a mission, someone who believed in justice with religious fervor. That same intensity was directed at her now, his dark eyes holding hers. Thank you for doing this tonight. For helping despite having every reason to refuse. Maybe I'm just as stubborn as you, Zara said. Or maybe I recognize something in your mother's desperation. When someone asks for help that urgently, you don't walk away. Even when it's dangerous. Especially then, Zara said. The song ended but neither of them moved, still swaying slightly. caught in each other's gravity. Then Seo Junwoo's phone buzzed insistently. He checked it, and his expression hardened immediately. "What's wrong?" Zara asked. "Mireille just left the gala," he said. "And according to my security contacts, she's making calls. Activating her family's network. This is escalating faster than I anticipated."
What does that mean for me?
"It means you're not going back to your apartment tonight," Seo Junwoo said firmly. "It's too exposed, too easy to access. You're coming with me."
To where?
"My apartment in Gangnam. It's secured, protected. You'll be safe there until I can arrange something more permanent." "This is insane," Zara said. "This was supposed to be one night of pretending, and now you're saying I need protective custody?" "I'm saying I won't take chances with your safety," Seo Junwoo said. His hand tightened on her waist possessively. "You helped me. That makes your protection my responsibility. We're leaving now." Before Zara could argue, he was guiding her toward the exit, his security detail falling into formation around them. They left through a private entrance where his car was already waiting, a sleek black sedan that screamed government official. He held the door for her with old-fashioned courtesy, then slid into the back seat beside her. The drive through Seoul's nighttime streets was tense and silent. Zara watched the city blur past, her mind struggling to process how quickly her normal life had been upended. This morning she'd been photographing traditional architecture. Tonight, she was fleeing a gala under armed protection because she'd agreed to pretend to be a prosecutor's girlfriend and somehow made a genuine enemy in the process. "This is my fault," Seo Junwoo said quietly beside her. "I should have anticipated Mireille would react this aggressively. I should have prepared better protection before involving you." "I made the choice to help," Zara said. "That's on me, not you." His hand found hers in the darkness of the back seat, his fingers threading through hers with startling intimacy. "Thank you for not regretting that choice yet." "Give me time," Zara said with dark humor. "The night's still young." His apartment building was exactly what she'd expected, ultra-modern, ultra-secure, the kind of place that screamed expensive and exclusive. They rode the elevator to the 23rd floor in silence, tension crackling between them. His apartment was minimalist perfection, all clean lines and neutral colors, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Han River. It looked like a space designed for efficiency rather than comfort, functional but cold, the home of someone who rarely spent time there. "Make yourself comfortable," Seo Junwoo said, his formality returning now that they were alone. "There's a guest room you can use. I need to make some calls, coordinate additional security measures." He disappeared into what looked like a home office, leaving Zara alone in the cavernous living room. She explored cautiously, finding a kitchen that looked barely used, a bathroom with expensive toiletries, a bookshelf filled with legal texts and classical literature. Everything was immaculate, organized, completely impersonal. It made her sad for reasons she couldn't quite articulate. Seo Junwoo emerged an hour later looking exhausted, his tie loosened, jacket discarded somewhere. His hair was slightly mussed like he'd been running his hands through it, and somehow that small imperfection made him even more devastating. "Everything's arranged," he said. "Starting tomorrow, you'll have a full security detail. I've also contacted your university to explain you'll be unavailable for a few days due to a family emergency. And I've arranged for someone to collect essentials from your apartment."
"You didn't have to do all that," Zara said.
"Yes, I did," he said firmly. "This is my fault. I'll make it right." He crossed to the kitchen, poured 2 glasses of water, handed her one. Their fingers brushed during the exchange, and electricity sparked between them, unmistakable and mutual. "Can I ask you something?" Zara said. "Of course. Why aren't you terrified of Mireille's family? Everyone at that gala seemed afraid of them."
"Why aren't you?"
"Because I've spent my entire career investigating people like them," Seo Junwoo said. "Organized crime thrives on fear and intimidation. The moment you show fear, you give them power. I refuse to be intimidated, even when it puts you in danger."
"Especially then," he said.
"My father taught me that justice requires courage, that some things are worth the risk." His intensity was mesmerizing, dangerous in its own way. Zara found herself drawn to it despite every logical warning in her head. "You're either very brave or very reckless," she observed. Probably both, he admitted. The moment stretched between them, loaded with unspoken tension. Then Seo Junwoo stepped back deliberately, breaking the spell. You should get some rest. Tomorrow will be complicated. The guest room is the second door on the right. If you need anything, I'll be in my office. He walked away before Zara could respond, leaving her alone in his cold, perfect apartment, wondering what she'd gotten herself into, and wondering why part of her didn't want him to maintain that professional distance, why part of her wanted him to stop being so controlled and careful, and just close the space between them entirely. She found the guest room exactly where he'd indicated, furnished with the same minimalist efficiency as the rest of the apartment. She lay down in the unfamiliar bed, still wearing the borrowed gown, too wired to sleep, her mind replaying the entire surreal evening. Somewhere in the apartment, she heard Seo Junwoo moving around, heard him on the phone speaking rapid Korean she couldn't fully follow. His voice carried through the walls, low and commanding even when he was trying to be quiet. Eventually, exhaustion pulled her under into restless sleep, filled with dreams of dark eyes and dangerous promises, and the feeling of being claimed by someone she barely knew. She woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows and the smell of coffee. Disoriented until memory crashed back, Zara found Seo Junwoo in the kitchen, already dressed in a fresh suit, his hair perfectly styled again, every trace of last night's exhaustion erased. He looked up when she entered, his eyes traveling over her rumpled gown with something heated before his expression smoothed into careful neutrality. Good morning. There's coffee and I ordered breakfast. It should arrive shortly. Thank you, Zara said, accepting the mug he handed her. Their fingers brushed again, and she saw his jaw tighten slightly, saw him notice the same electricity she felt.
Did you sleep at all? A few hours, he said.
I was coordinating security protocols and reviewing case files. Mire's father made several calls last night to associates in organized crime. They're looking for leverage against me, looking for information about you. That's terrifying, Zara admitted. Which is why you're not leaving this apartment without protection, Seo Junwoo said firmly. I've arranged for 2 security specialists to be with you at all times when you're outside. Jin Ho and Min Suk, both former military intelligence. They'll maintain distance, but they'll be there. For how long? However long it takes to neutralize the threat, he said. I'm accelerating my investigation into Mire's family. If I can gather enough evidence to make arrests within the next few weeks, their organization will be too fractured to retaliate effectively. You're talking about arresting organized crime figures because of me, Zara said, the weight of that settling heavily. I'm arresting them because they're criminals, Seo Junwoo corrected. You just happened to provide the catalyst that forced me to move faster than originally planned. A knock at the door interrupted them. Seo Junwoo checked the security monitor before opening it to reveal 2 men in dark suits carrying multiple shopping bags. Your belongings from the apartment, one of them said in English, clearly for Zara's benefit. And clothing selections as requested. They deposited everything in the living room and left efficiently. Seo Junwoo had somehow arranged for someone to pack her essentials, her laptop, her cameras, clothing, toiletries, everything she'd need for an extended stay. The efficiency was both impressive and slightly overwhelming. I also took the liberty of having my assistant select some additional clothing, Seo Junwoo said, gesturing to several designer bags. You'll need appropriate attire if you're going to continue appearing as my girlfriend publicly. We're continuing this? Zara asked, surprised. Until the investigation concludes and Mire's family is neutralized, yes, he said. Maintaining the fiction that we're together provides you with a level of protection. Anyone who harms you would be directly attacking a prosecutor's significant other, which brings significant legal consequences. It also keeps Mire off balance, unable to manipulate the situation to her advantage. So, I'm moving in here? Zara asked, trying to process the implications. Temporarily, Seo Junwoo said. If that makes you uncomfortable, I can arrange a safe house with security. But this apartment has better protection and allows me to personally ensure your safety. His eyes held hers. I won't let anything happen to you, Zara.
You have my word on that.
The intensity in his voice made her pulse quicken.
Okay, she said.
I'll stay.
For now.
Good, he said, something like satisfaction crossing his features. I need to go to the prosecutor's office for several hours. Jin-ho and Min-suk will be here within the hour. Don't leave the apartment without them. Yes, sir, Zara said with slight sarcasm. His lips quirked in that almost smile. I'm serious, Zara. Miare's family doesn't make idle threats. Promise me you'll be careful. I promise, she said, meaning it. He looked like he wanted to say something else, his hand lifting slightly like he might touch her face again, but then he lowered it and stepped back. I'll be back by evening. Call me if anything feels wrong, anything at all. Then he was gone, leaving Zara alone in his apartment with her borrowed life and the growing realization that this situation was far more complicated than a simple one-night favor. She spent the morning organizing her belongings in the guest room, setting up her laptop, trying to create some normalcy in the surreal circumstances. Jin-ho and Min-suk arrived exactly when promised, professional and courteous, positioning themselves with military efficiency. They seemed content to fade into the background until needed, which Zara appreciated. She tried to work on her research, editing photographs and writing field notes, but her mind kept drifting to Seo Junwoo. The way he looked at her this morning, the careful control he maintained, the protectiveness that seemed to go beyond professional obligation. Her phone rang, startling her from thoughts that were becoming dangerously close to obsessive. An unknown number. She answered cautiously. Hello? Is this Zara Mitchell? A woman's voice asked in English with a heavy Korean accent. Yes, who is this? My name is Park Sun-hee. I'm a reporter for Seoul Daily News. I'm calling about your relationship with prosecutor Seo Junwoo. Zara's stomach dropped. How did you get this number? That's not important, the reporter said. What's important is that you've suddenly appeared as the girlfriend of one of Seoul's most eligible bachelors. A man who's never been publicly linked to anyone romantically. That's quite a story. I'm not interested in giving interviews, Zara said firmly. I'm just interested in the truth, Park Sun-hee said. Is your relationship with prosecutor Seo genuine? Or is this a convenient fiction designed to deflect attention from his actual involvement with Yoon Mi-ae? There is no involvement with Yoon Mi-ae, Zara said. She's been harassing him with fabricated claims. So you're saying Yoon Mi-ae is lying? I'm saying my relationship with Junwoo is real and private, Zara said. And I'd appreciate you respecting that privacy. The reporter laughed. Nothing involving prosecutor Seo is private, Miss Mitchell. He's a public figure investigating powerful people. Everything about his life is news. Especially when he suddenly produces a foreign girlfriend that nobody knew existed. I have nothing more to say, Zara said. Please don't call this number again. She hung up, her hand shaking. Jin-ho appeared immediately. Problem? A reporter, Zara said. Asking questions about my relationship with prosecutor Seo. Jin-ho's expression hardened. We'll inform him immediately. In the meantime, don't answer calls from unknown numbers. Let everything go to voicemail. Zara nodded, suddenly feeling very exposed. This was escalating in ways she hadn't anticipated. Being Seo Junwoo's fake girlfriend wasn't just a private deception anymore. It was becoming public, attracting media attention, creating a fiction that would be difficult to maintain or escape from. Seo Junwoo called 30 minutes later, his voice tight, with controlled anger. Jin-ho told me about the reporter.
I'm sorry.
The story leaked faster than I expected. What story? Zara asked. Several media outlets are running pieces about us, he said. Speculation about our relationship, questions about how we met, theories about whether this is connected to my investigation into the Yoon family. Some reporters are digging into your background. They're investigating me? Zara felt panic rising. Nothing invasive, Seo Junwoo said quickly. Just public records, your academic credentials, your visa status. Everything checks out cleanly because it's all legitimate. But this does mean we need to be more careful about maintaining consistency in our story. I'm coming home early. We need to prepare for potential media questions. Home, he'd said. Like this was their shared space, their life together. The casual domesticity of the word made Zara's chest tight. He arrived 2 hours later with takeout from a high-end Korean restaurant, his expression serious, but not panicked. How bad is it? Zara asked immediately.
Manageable, he said.
The media attention will fade once they realize there's no scandal to uncover. Our relationship is boring from a news perspective. Two professionals who met through work and kept their personal life private. That's not sensational enough to sustain coverage. Unless Mia gives them something sensational, Zara said. She won't, Seo Junwoo said with certainty. Giving interviews or making public accusations would only draw more attention to her father's criminal activities. She'll be furious, but she'll stay quiet. They ate dinner together at his minimalist dining table, and something about the ordinary domesticity of sharing a meal made the situation feel more real, less like a temporary arrangement. Seo Junwoo asked about her research, seemed genuinely interested in her work on traditional textiles and cultural preservation. She asked about his cases, and he shared what he could, painting pictures of the intricate investigations he conducted. You really love this work, Zara observed. Despite the danger and the pressure. I do, he admitted. There's satisfaction in holding powerful people accountable, in being the person who can't be bought or intimidated. My father taught me that justice isn't about being popular or safe. It's about being right. That's a lonely way to live, Zara said softly. Yes, Seo Junwoo agreed. It can be. Have you ever wanted something different? She asked. A quieter life? Sometimes, he said, his eyes holding hers. Especially lately. Lately meaning since last night, since I walked into your life? Maybe, he admitted. Or maybe since I realized that having someone to come home to, someone who sees past the prosecutor to the person underneath, might be worth the complication. The air between them grew charged again, heavy with implications. Zara knew she should maintain distance, should remember this was all temporary and fake, but the pull toward him felt increasingly real. I should warn you, Seo Junwoo said, his voice dropping slightly. I'm not good at casual or temporary. When I commit to something, I commit completely. That's my nature. Is that a warning or a promise? Zara asked. Both, he said. Because this situation started as a necessary fiction, but I find myself wanting it to be real. His honesty stole her breath. Junwoo, that's my name, he interrupted. Not Prosecutor Seo. Not the formal address. When we're alone, I want you to use my name. Junwoo, Zara repeated, tasting the intimacy of it. This is complicated. Everything worthwhile is complicated, he said, standing and crossing to her side of the table. He held out his hand. Dance with me. There's no music, Zara said even as she took his hand, let him pull her to her feet. We don't need music, he said, pulling her close. We just need this. They swayed together in his silent apartment, her head against his chest, his arms around her waist, both of them pretending this was simple when it was anything but. The next few days fell into an unexpected rhythm. Seo Junwoo left early for the prosecutor's office, returned in the evenings with takeout and case files, and they'd share dinner while discussing their days. Zara worked on her research from his apartment, occasionally venturing out with Jin-ho and Min-suk to photograph locations for her project. The media attention gradually faded as predicted, the story losing traction when no scandal materialized. But the threat from Mia-rae's family remained. Seo Junwoo's investigation intensified, his hours growing longer as he gathered evidence. Zara saw the exhaustion building in the tightness around his eyes, the tension in his shoulders. One evening she found him asleep at his desk, files scattered around him, and something about his vulnerability in that moment made her chest ache. She covered him with a blanket, resisting the urge to touch his hair, to trace the line of his jaw. He stirred, opened his eyes, found her standing there. Sorry, Zara whispered. I didn't mean to wake you. What time is it? Almost midnight, she said. You've been working for 16 hours. He sat up with a groan. The preliminary hearing is in 3 days. I need everything perfect. You need sleep, Zara corrected. Let me help.
How? She asked.
What can I do?
Talk to me, he said.
Tell me about your research, about textiles and patterns and things that have nothing to do with organized crime. Help me remember there's more to life than court cases and criminals. So she did. She sat on the floor of his office and talked about Pojagi patchwork, about the symbolism in hanbok embroidery, about the women who'd created beauty and meaning through fabric and thread. He listened with genuine interest, asking questions, his exhaustion gradually easing as they talked into the early morning. "You're good at this," he said eventually. "At what?" "Making complicated things feel simple," he said. "Making darkness feel lighter." Zara's heart squeezed. "You're not as dark as you think you are." "Yes, I am," Seo Junwoo said quietly. "I've done things in pursuit of justice that keep me awake at night. I've made choices that cost people their lives. I'm not the good man you seem to think I am." "Then why do I feel safer with you than I've felt anywhere?" Zara asked. His expression cracked, showing raw vulnerability underneath. "Because you see what you want to see, not what's really there." "I see a man who protects people," Zara said. "Who takes responsibilities seriously. Who's trying to make the world better despite the personal cost." "That's not darkness, Junwoo. That's heroism." "I'm not a hero," he said roughly. "Heroes don't fall for someone they're supposed to be protecting. Heroes maintain professional distance. They don't want impossible things." The confession hung between them like a lit fuse. "You're not the only one wanting impossible things," Zara whispered. "This is a terrible idea," Seo Junwoo said even as he stood, crossed to where she sat, pulled her to her feet. "You should tell me to maintain boundaries, to remember this is temporary." "I should," Zara agreed. "But I'm not going to." He kissed her then, finally, ending days of tension with his mouth claiming hers. It wasn't gentle or tentative. It was desperate and hungry, months of loneliness and isolation pouring into the contact. Zara kissed him back with equal need, her hands fisting in his shirt, pulling him closer. He lifted her easily, carrying her out of the office toward his bedroom, the one room in the apartment she hadn't entered. The space was as minimalist as the rest, but the bed was enormous, the windows overlooking the city lights. He laid her down carefully, his body covering hers, his weight perfect and overwhelming. "Are you sure?" he asked against her mouth. "Because once I have you, I won't want to let go." "I'm sure," Zara breathed. "I've been sure since the gala." What followed was intensity and passion, Seo Junwoo worshipping her body with focused attention, learning what made her gasp and arch against him. He was both gentle and demanding, controlled and wild, showing her without words how much he wanted her. Afterward, tangled together in his sheets, Zara felt the fundamental shift between them. This wasn't fake anymore. Somewhere between the gala and tonight, between the staged intimacy and real danger, they'd fallen into something genuine. "I meant what I said earlier," Seo Junwoo said into the darkness. "I don't do casual. If we do this, if we make this real, I'm all in." "That's terrifying," Zara admitted.
"Good," he said.
"I'd worry if you weren't terrified." "I'm terrified too." "Of what?" "Of how much I want this," he said. "Of how quickly you've become essential. Of what happens if I can't protect you from everything that's coming." "Nothing's coming," Zara said. "The investigation is almost complete. Mira will be arrested soon. This will all be over." Seo Junwoo pulled her closer, his arms tightening. "I hope you're right." But Zara would remember that moment later, remember the fear in his voice, and wish she'd understood the warning. The preliminary hearing 3 days later was supposed to be routine. Seo Junwoo had gathered overwhelming evidence against Mira's father and 3 key associates. Money laundering, racketeering, connections to violent crimes. The case was solid. But when they arrived at the courthouse, surrounded by security, Zara immediately felt something wrong. Too many people watching, too much tension in the air. "Stay close to Jinho," Seo Junwoo said, his hand on her back. "If anything happens, you leave immediately." "Nothing's going to happen," Zara said, trying to believe it. Inside the courthouse was controlled chaos. Media everywhere, security scanning everyone, the weight of what was about to happen heavy in the air. Seo Junwoo disappeared into the courtroom while Zara waited in a secure viewing area with Jinho and Minsuk. The hearing proceeded exactly as planned. Evidence presented, charges read, defendants brought in wearing expensive suits and expression of entitled fury. Miare sat in the gallery behind her father, her face a mask of cold rage directed at Seo Junwoo. Then during a recess, while Seo Junwoo consulted with colleagues, everything went wrong. Jin-ho's phone buzzed urgently. His expression changed instantly.
"We need to move," he said. "Now."
"What's happening?" Zara asked. "Credible threat," Jin-ho said, already guiding her toward an exit. "Someone called in a bomb threat targeting prosecutor Seo's associates. That includes you." They moved quickly through corridors, Min-suk ahead scanning for danger. They reached a stairwell and descended rapidly. Zara's heart hammered as they emerged into an underground parking garage. A car was waiting, engine running. "Get in," Jin-ho commanded. But before they could reach it, 3 men appeared from behind concrete pillars. Not security, not police. Their faces were covered, their intentions clear. "Run," Jin-ho shouted, pulling his weapon. Everything happened in seconds. Gunshots echoing off concrete, Min-suk returning fire, Jin-ho pushing Zara behind a pillar. She pressed herself against cold concrete, trembling violently as violence erupted around her. Then rough hands grabbed her from behind, a cloth pressed over her mouth and nose. Chemical sweetness filled her lungs and the world tilted sideways, darkness swallowing everything. She woke to pain and confusion. Her head throbbed, her wrists burned where they were bound. She was in some kind of warehouse, dim light filtering through high windows. Miare sat across from her on an expensive chair, looking pristine and cold. "Welcome back," Miare said. "I was beginning to worry you'd sleep through our conversation." "Where am I?" Zara's voice came out rough. "What did you do?" "What I should have done at the gala," Miare said. "Removed the obstacle." "You think taking my father to trial makes you untouchable? Makes your prosecutor untouchable? He loves you now. That's his weakness. When he finds out what's happened to you, he'll do anything to get you back. Including dropping charges? Including dying trying to save you," Miare said with satisfaction. "My people have made sure he knows exactly where you are. He's coming, walking right into a trap. All because he couldn't resist playing hero for some foreign nobody." Terror flooded Zara's system. "You're using me as bait." "Clever girl," Miare mocked. "My father will be released when the evidence mysteriously disappears. Your prosecutor will be dead. And you, well, you'll serve as a lesson about interfering in things you don't understand." "This is insane," Zara said. "You'll never get away with this." "We already have," Miare said, standing. "The trap is set, the players are in motion. In a few hours, this will all be over." She walked away, leaving Zara alone with her terror and the desperate hope that Seo Junwoo wouldn't do exactly what Miare predicted, wouldn't sacrifice himself trying to save her. But even as she thought it, she knew he would. Because that's who he was, someone who protected others regardless of personal cost. An hour later, she heard it. Gunfire outside the warehouse, shouts, the sound of a tactical operation unfolding. Then Seo Junwoo burst through a door, weapon drawn, his eyes scanning until they found her. Behind him was a team of armed officers, moving with military precision. "Zara," he breathed, crossing to her in 3 strides. He cut her bonds with a knife, his hands checking her for injuries with frantic urgency. "Are you hurt? Did they touch you?" "I'm okay," Zara said, though she was shaking violently. "Junwoo, this is a trap." Miare said. "I know," he said grimly. "We anticipated it." Let her spring her trap. Outside, more gunfire. Then sudden silence that felt ominous. An officer appeared in the doorway. "All suspects in custody," he reported. "The Yoon family's associates are neutralized." "Miare?" Seo Junwoo asked. "Arrested attempting to flee." "It's over, sir. The case is secure." Seo Junwoo pulled Zara against him, held her so tightly she could barely breathe. "I thought I'd lost you," he said roughly. "When Jin-ho called, when I realized they'd taken you, everything else stopped mattering. The case, my career, all of it. I would have traded everything to get you back safely." "You didn't have to," Zara said. "You won. We won." Later, after statements and processing, after the chaos settled, they returned to his apartment in the early morning hours. Seo Junwoo still hadn't released her hand, like he was afraid she'd disappear if he let go. That's over now, Zara said, trying to process everything. Mia and her father are in custody. The case is solid. I'm not in danger anymore. Which means I need to make something clear, Seo Junwoo said, turning to face her. This started as a necessary fiction. Protection disguised as a relationship. But somewhere between the gala and today, between pretending and reality, I fell in love with you.
Completely.
Irrevocably. Zara's breath caught. Junwoo, I know I have no right to ask this, he continued. I've put you in danger, disrupted your life, pulled you into my world without permission. But I'm asking anyway.
Stay.
Not because you need protection, not because we're maintaining a fiction, but because I want you here. Because I love you, and I want to build something real with you.
If you'll have me.
I fell in love with you too, Zara admitted. Somewhere between your intensity and your vulnerability, between feeling protected and feeling seen. Yes, I'll stay. He kissed her then, deep and claiming, a promise sealed. They made love again, slower this time, with the desperate urgency replaced by tender certainty. This was real. This was theirs. This was the beginning rather than the end. The trial concluded 2 months later. Miare's father and his associates received lengthy prison sentences. Miare herself faced charges for kidnapping and conspiracy. The evidence was overwhelming, the justice absolute. Seo Junwoo's reputation grew even stronger, the prosecutor who couldn't be intimidated or corrupted. But more importantly, he'd found something he hadn't known he needed. Zara moved into his apartment permanently, bringing warmth and life to the cold, minimalist space. Her photographs covered walls, her presence filled rooms with laughter and conversation. They attended galas together, no longer pretending, the relationship everyone had speculated about proving genuine. Seo Junwoo's mother adored Zara, credited her with softening her son's harsh edges. 6 months after that first gala, Seo Junwoo took Zara to Namsan Tower at sunset. They stood overlooking Seoul, the city spread below them like scattered jewels. I need to tell you something, he said. I'm leaving the prosecutor's office. Zara turned to him, shocked.
What? Why?
Because I've spent 10 years pursuing justice at the expense of everything else, he said. And I realized that having you building a life with you, that matters more. I'm joining a law firm that does corporate cases, fewer hours, less danger. I want to come home to you every night. I want to build a future that doesn't involve constant threats. You don't have to give up your career for me, Zara said. I'm not giving it up, he corrected. I'm choosing something better. I'm choosing us. He pulled out a small velvet box, opened it to reveal a stunning ring.
Marry me, Zara.
Make this permanent. Make this real, in every possible way. Yes, Zara said without hesitation. 1,000 times yes. They married 3 months later in a ceremony that blended Korean and American traditions. Small and intimate, just family and close friends. Seo Junwoo's mother cried happy tears. Zara's colleagues from the university attended, amazed at how her life had transformed. 1 year after the wedding, Zara discovered she was pregnant. The news made Seo Junwoo cry, something she'd rarely seen. A baby, he kept repeating in wonder. We're having a baby. Their daughter was born on a spring morning, perfect and healthy. They named her Grace Ji-won, Grace for the unexpected blessings and Ji-won for wisdom. Seo Junwoo held his daughter with reverent awe, whispering promises about the life he'd give her, the protection she'd always have, the love that would never falter. 2 years later, as Zara photographed Grace toddling through their garden, Seo Junwoo wrapped his arms around her from behind. Happy? He asked. Beyond measure, Zara said. You? More than I ever thought possible, he admitted. You gave me everything I didn't know I needed. A home, a family, a reason to want more than just winning cases. I love you, Zara. I love you too, she said, leaning into him. They watched their daughter play. 2 people who'd started with a desperate fiction and built something beautifully real. Because sometimes helping a stranger changes everything. Sometimes pretending becomes truth. Sometimes danger leads to love. And sometimes the prosecutor, who couldn't be bought or intimidated, found his only weakness and discovered it was actually his greatest strength.
The end.